Hey, Dr. Drew here, and this is just a reminder that the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care or medical evaluation. This is purely for entertainment and education. We hope you learned something, but see your doctor, get proper medical care. Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and you were listening to This Life
with Bob Forrest
and Dr. Drew.
Here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, turn your iPhone back on, hook it up to Bluetooth in the car, because we've got another podcast of This Life. And now.
That's right. That's, of course, Bob Forrest. Call us at 323-649-8268. Any questions you might have. Most importantly, go to doctor.com, click through on the Hydrolyte banner. You get 30% off on your purchase. And the code DREW18 will give you that. We love this product, these guys, the rehydration product. Then if you also want to get some special prices on our friends at Bergamet, the banner there at doctor.com will give you a discount when you click through. We're proud to have these products back in with us for 2018. We're also taking your calls live today for an extra half hour, so call us. The number is on the Facebook Live blurb. Again, it's 323-649-8268. Also, follow at This Life Podcast, and we are happy to welcome.
I'm getting distracted by your wife.
Well, first of all, Shelly is with us still.
Hi, guys.
Shelly Sprague is still with us, and we are all delighted to bring our friend Mary Ellen Cook in here.
Yes.
Who reminded me that it's been 10 years to the day, Drew, since Celebrity Rehab started.
What?
I know, right?
We're old.
Wow.
I'm going on
Really?
Seems like it was just a couple years
really
ago.
old.
I'm still feeling the effects of it.
I know. I was 27 then. Now I'm 37.
Well, and you're going to get married. We'll talk about all this.
Yes.
Yes.
But I one of the moments that, Marilyn, you did not see that stuck out in my mind was when you started, we had to walk down the street a few times.
Yes.
Poor Shelly. I felt so bad for her. You guys were driving her crazy.
Yes, we did. Well, I was really well behaved. It was more like Jessica and Seth, I think. And Jeff, obviously.
Jeff always.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeff was the toughest one.
Well, I mean, I think the whole environment was a little bit different, something
Yes.
I wasn't really used to.
Yes.
And so what I had, had to kind of adjust to was things that were kind of beyond my control. And so I had a bit of trouble adjusting to the whole situation. Not because the clients were who they were and what you guys were, up to, but more because of the context of what we're doing within that construct. And so it was tough for my little brain, to make it,
but you
make
all
it all
were
make
getting
sense.
kicked out.
Right.
What I think's funny is that when I went to Promises Malibu, the first or second day I was there, the girl I was really close with, she goes, I watched Celebrity Rehab. She goes, I've been here for a week. There's no drama in rehab. You guys must have made that all up. Well, then as the weeks progressed, there was a lot of drama.
Drama.
It's like a little high school when you're in rehab,
Yes.
It wasn't just Celebrity
Absolutely.
Rehab.
No,
All
no,
rehabs
all rehabs.
are pretty much, I thought Celebrity Rehab, now after going to other rehabs, was actually a very accurate portrayal of rehab. It was
That's right.
nothing, if
No,
anything, we got better treatment on Celebrity Rehab than a normal rehab because we had a smaller group. We got one-on-one time more with you, with Bob. So, I felt it was actually a better rehab situation.
It was just what the three of us do. There's the three of us, and plus some other people, Sasha and people in the team.
Yeah,
and
day in
Luisha
and day out, that's what we're doing, and it was a good, it was a good introduction for you because obviously now later you see that you were really getting treatment and you were actually making some progress there.
Oh, I think. I get really upset when people criticize it and think it was made up for TV or this wasn't real treatment because because that's the other thing. People don't realize we had 2 to 3 hour long process groups that were seeing you one-on-one almost every day.
It was heavy duty.
It was heavy duty.
It was real rehab.
That's sort of what was depleting us, in fact, because usually you'll hand off, but it was just the three of us all the time.
I know. I want to go back again. Let's do it again.
I think.
Well, the other thing is you responded to it because you'd never had a family feel like that.
Yeah.
That was I thought, a poignant piece of your story is that we became like a little surrogate family for you.
Oh, yeah. And when I went to PTP, Promises, other program, they let me stay an extra couple of days for free because I just didn't want to leave. I just wanted to stay in rehab. And I told them if I win the lottery, I'm going to live in rehab permanently.
You went to the on Pico?
Yeah,
Wow.
that was on Wilshire. But now they closed it, actually.
Yeah, I think they did. So
We always
what
liked that
she
program.
went through.
Yeah.
No, so it was
that
the
Paul
professionals.
Williams over there? Was that
Dr. Greg Skipper. Dr. Skipper.
the gray guy. So they were doing tours because it was going to be the professionals track of Promises, right?
Yeah.
And Sheila Balkin and I go by there and we go through the tour and he's telling us all what you guys were going to do.
Oh, it was great.
And we just both looked at each other and said, You're talking about real. This is just treatment.
It's treatment. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, isn't it weird you have to come up with a new brand for treatment because treatment had become so accommodating, such BS that they were just calling the professionals track, calling it a separate new thing, like it's a new thing. And it was really go to group or go home. Right? That's what.
Well, and theirs is actually a lot stricter because it's a lot of. I mean, I don't know how I ended up in there. Actually, well, Dr. Sophie wanted me in the professionals program to bring me back to more of my roots and like the kind of prep school I went to. He wanted me to be with the doctors and lawyers, but it was pretty much all doctors and physicians who got in some sort of trouble at work.
Yeah.
And so they have to, they have to do everything right, or else Dr. Skipper doesn't approve them to go back to work, and they're all required. And
there's the board.
Well, there is no. I don't like the rules. I'm going to leave. I mean, for
isn't.
these doctors, it's lose your license if you don't stay.
We dealt with a lot of doctors, remember, and they were really tough to treat.
They're very tough. I mean, the guy I'm engaged to, he's very tough to treat.
We'll hear more about that as we go on.
But he was in rehab for 6 months, but he's a great guy.
That's
it's all
what it
good.
takes.
See, I realize when I say these things, he's not.
Just like everybody's not newbie. Everybody's not newbie. But you guys haven't seen each other since
10 years.
Gosh, the reunion.
You came back though.
I did I came back before Sober House and just came back and visited season 2, and then I did Sober House season 1, which we shot a year after. But Shelley wasn't part of Sober House.
Right.
Yeah.
We only got to see you and Bob.
She didn't want to live with you guys.
I love Sober House. That's another thing. Unlike real sober livings, you don't generally get. We were getting process groups every day.
Yeah,
in Sober House, it was really just like rehab living in a different place.
Right. It was like treatment light.
I loved it.
Yeah. I
love treatment.
It was so funny when we were the
I
producers.
should go back. I don't even remember any of this. It was so long ago.
But the producers, we were always like, no, just don't worry about it. Stuff always happens in rehab. Just stand back, let it happen. It always does. I still have trauma from going to Catalina. That was like
that
too
was
much
so
for
fun.
me.
See, the producers were the ones who told me to take my top off.
I'm sure.
I was not going to do. I said to them, Dr. Drew's going to get mad if I do this.
See, TV
And they said,
producers
do
always
it.
have to do the obvious. So TV producers, my argument wasn't the same as yours. I was like, if you don't tell her to take her top off, she will. You don't have to worry about it. And what's his name jumped off the boat. I knew that somebody was going to jump off the boat.
Rico, of course.
I knew it.
Rico.
I knew somebody's going to steal one of those bicycles and take off on Catalina. You just let drug addicts be drug addicts. But the producers were so trying to make them act like drug addicts. I think that drove you nuts. I was just like, you don't have to tell them. You don't have to tell them.
It's true.
You would have taken your top off even if they didn't tell you, wouldn't you?
No, because I wouldn't want Dr. Drew to be mad at me.
Thank you.
Because
No, I really didn't.
Yeah, I know you were a good patient.
Yeah,
because it would have gotten her kicked out of the program.
and that's the thing.
Right?
In the real world, that was the
It would
only
have
thing.
been,
That was
yeah.
the only thing different is that I wasn't allowed to kick people out.
Yeah, you
which
weren't
I
able to.
We
routinely
never
did.
kick people out. We just move them to the psych ward, if you recall.
We would give them options. We'd give them options.
Yes.
They would often go to that ward. That was what they would
Two
go.
East, it was called.
Right. Yes, I remember.
So what's going on in your life now? So first, your sobriety.
Okay, so I was dreading coming here. So I had 416 days sober, and then it's funny. I mean, I see now how the relapse happened. Once I got sober, I went out to Vegas. I was starting to get booked every single weekend again. I slowly stopped going to all my meetings because I was traveling every single weekend. I stopped going. Every Wednesday was my Promises meeting. I was always going to that. Started missing it. The young boyfriend and I broke up, and I ended up, drinking. It was a one night. It was on November 18th. And then I got sober. I did it again and got really actively involved with Promises again. And then I caught my fiance at the time was my boyfriend that he had sex with a bunch of hookers behind my back.
He did?
Yeah. Don't worry, he's in. Yeah. So
This
then
is a different guy?
No, this is the guy I'm engaged to now.
What?
Well, it's a sex addiction. I can overlook it.
Is he in treatment?
Yeah, he's in treatment right now.
Okay.
He's a blue tiger.
Okay.
So, but then that made me drink
They
again.
have a sex
It
addiction
didn't make me
thing
drink.
called
The problem
Blue
is,
Tiger?
yeah, it's in Palm Springs.
That kind of sounds sexy.
It does. Well,
That's how you get those guys in. That's how you get them in.
yeah, you have to con them to come in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, not that it made me drink. I can see what the trigger was. I just wasn't strong enough in that point in my sobriety when that happened. And then things were going well with us again. And then there was one other, January 6th, him and I had gotten in an argument, and I went and sat courtside at a Lakers game, and I decided to drink there. And so now my new sobriety date's January 7th. So I have 47 days.
There you go.
Do you guys make much of a distinction between slips and relapses? when you're dealing with patients?
I do, because part of slipping is part of reintegration of, does this work? No, it doesn't. Does this really work? No, it doesn't. And sometimes you have to go through whatever it takes to understand that it doesn't work, because there's nothing worse than wondering if alcohol still works for me.
Isn't it interesting?
It did not work. It was actually, like they say, your relapse is worse than it was before, and the disease really does pick up because. I mean, I only had 5 doubles the night November 10th, and
at a Lakers game.
No, this was the first.
That was later.
But I normally would not have been in a blackout after 2 drinks, and the behavior I did at this club I was at, I mean, was it was nothing like I've ever done before, and so it just shows that the alcohol affected me even worse. You know,
it does. It really does, because of the way that it affects your brain when you haven't been drinking for quite some time, or 400 and some days, right? And then you go and you have a couple of doubles, and you go into a blackout.
But you seem much clearer about what you're contending with.
With
alcoholism.
Oh, I mean, I have no doubt that I'm an alcoholic.
And
then I understand. I mean, I see. You know, it's like when they say when your life starts getting too busy, or you start getting back all the things you were losing in your disease, which was happening for me. I mean, all the different clubs were, happy with me again. I was doing a great job. I was sober. I was getting booked for things. I stopped going to my meetings. I stopped hanging out with, my best friend, my sponsor. I just
was she the one we met last time?
Yes, she was actually going to come today, but she's sick.
She seemed very solid. So
she's actually just got 18 months.
Now, I think we talked a little bit about this last time, but isn't it interesting that a lot of your unraveling comes in around relationships?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I realized what I was doing too in the last relationship was I was staying sober as a way to make him proud, but then also he had a horrible relapse, and I started becoming his caregiver. I mean, he wasn't he was just stayed drunk for months on end, and his parents were having me fly up to take care of him, to try to get him sober. He'd come stay with me. I'd find bottles constantly. I got afraid to leave my place because he was walking off and buying alcohol, and and then once we split up, which I know was probably the best thing ever for me, if I would have listened to you and the people at Promises and my psychiatrist, I would have left him sooner. But I didn't listen to anyone.
Well, I told you to leave.
Well, you just said it wasn't a good relationship.
Take care of you.
Yeah, we might have said I won't.
Okay. You didn't say that.
Yeah, I won't tell you to live your life, but I would say
I knew that you knew it wasn't good. And plus, I mean, if I would have listened to it, what is her name again? The psychic. On, Khalees told me on Susan's show that when I kept saying over and over again, well, what about the guy I'm with now? And she's like, well, this is where it should be for now. But she would not. And I asked her over and over again. But then the guy that she told me about another guy. And that I was going to ignore for a couple months, and I wasn't going to be really interested in.
Is that this guy?
Yeah, and because I met him at a Promises picnic. He kept hitting on me. I blew him off completely. For months, I would see him at meetings, and he said I would ignore him when he said hi. I don't necessarily believe that. I'm just so social that I'm talking to a billion people. That I probably, I had so many friends, and then he was very persistent, like she said he would be, with trying to ask me out. And then finally, after a couple months, I went out with him. And then she even told me that he was going to like fancy things. And she saw me having a good life with him. And that I would wonder how I ever lived without him. And it's all come true. But I still need to make sure this is the right guy. Because maybe there's another one that this is all going to happen with. And so I really need to go on the show again to confirm.
Does Mary
before
Carey,
July 7th, before I get married.
Mary Carey,
Mary Ellen.
the most... you never give up on love.
No.
You never do.
No.
You're the most emotionally resilient after time and time again things going wrong. You just keep trying.
Well, I think I've said this before. You're a
love addict.
Love addict.
I am.
Yeah, I was thinking codependency, a little love addiction.
Well, that's what I know. You hear what I hear, and so what should she do? With that.
Well, I'm
go to meetings.
Go to meetings, but I really think that's looking at an interpersonal sort of structure of a relationship. Having a relationship with a therapist who's not codependent, so you can see what it's like to not get enmeshed with people, where you can see where you maintain your autonomy while you're in a relationship with someone, and you go alongside them in a parallel way and not in an enmeshed, overly obsessive kind of way.
Yeah, I definitely get obsessed.
And so when you get obsessed, it
Yeah.
clouds your judgment. And that's what obsession does. No matter what you're obsessed with,
Yeah.
it's the exclusion of everything else. So like what you were saying was like, oh, well, this could happen with another person. I want to make sure this one's the right one. And it's like, you're right, because obsession can come in all kinds of different ways.
Yes.
And you won't know until all that obsession stuff settles down. And then you're really looking at, does the relationship work on all these different levels to make a partnership?
Yes.
And that partnership is what you're going to be looking for to move forward into a future sort of relationship with someone.
And let's remind people what Marilyn's history is too, because that you got, given your history, you can understand why relationships are.
Well, I mean,
sort
I
of
first, I know
difficult
it started at 16 with my grandfather dying. Is that because
Well, so that started before
Your
that.
mom. Your mom.
Yeah, but I mean, just looking at like when I studied love addiction, they say it usually happens when there's abandonment. So I think for me it was because I didn't have boyfriends or anything a lot until I was 16 and my grandfather died. And that's when I felt like I needed to have a boyfriend at all times. Ballet wasn't as important. Boyfriends were because I started being afraid of being alone.
The thing about these traumas that result in acting out, sometimes they're a second hit.
Yeah.
So the first hit may have been the lack of your biological dad.
Yeah.
He had schizophrenia too?
He has cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy.
Well, you know, that's true. They say the very first trauma would have probably been in the first 3 months of life when I was with just my mom and my dad.
And your mom has schizophrenia.
Yes, she has schizophrenia. And they probably weren't holding me properly and stuff like that. So that was actually the first big T. And then the next big T would be, well, you know, big T, little T. I'm talking
trauma.
But yeah, big trauma, little trauma. Because some people
Yeah.
have a bunch of little traumas. I have a lot of big identifiable, you know, big traumas, which would be the first one, the first 3 months of life, not being held properly and everything.
Yep.
The second big trauma would be my grandfather dying at 16. And then after that, taking care of my mom and grandma. And then
And there's sort of a chronic
Yeah.
nature to your stuff too, because again, your mom is chronically not there, your dad, biological mom, dad, chronically not there, and then your grandfather dies, and
Yes.
then your grandmother though was around,
and then,
right?
but her Parkinson's disease was very bad.
So that was chronic,
And I was
you had a
her parent.
caretaker,
Yes,
yeah.
from
and,
16 on.
and all the while being perfect as a ballerina, doing ballet,
well,
school,
that
school,
makes,
school.
Yep.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Being, you know, the hero, being the hero, being the hero. Right?
Well, I have
Savior.
preoccupied anxious attachment. You know, there's 4 attachment theories.
See what
And-
Promises does? Promises.
No, but we started her
We
off.
started
We
it.
got it started.
Oh, this
But-
stuff is promises.
this stuff
The
that-
big
the
T,
theory-
little T is
this
promises.
is promises as well as like we did a lot when I was in the professionals program. You know, they do a lot because it's all physicians. They really, you know, they really teach you
Yeah.
a lot more medical stuff. And
Yeah.
when we studied the 4 attachment theories, and we do about a 60 question
So there's
test.
avoidant, there's disorganized, there's secure,
Yes, which I'm not.
and
Not me.
and ambivalent. Is that no? What's that? The fourth one?
I think anxious.
Anxious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
anxious.
I'm preoccupied anxious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it makes you
But
know,
you can
can get healthy. You
progress.
can become a healthy one.
You can
And
progress.
that's what
'cause
and that's
she's
the
talking-
key. You recognize these problems. You
But
get
that's
the
what she's
therapy,
talking
and you
about.
become,
Yes.
you can progress because I had attachment problems, and now
Me too.
going
No, you
through.
didn't.
Yeah. Oh
all-
yeah. I think
Yeah.
I was more disorganized a little bit, or ambivalent maybe, or sort of ambivalent because I had stuff, and I did 10 years of therapy in
Really?
emotionally focused therapy.
I did 10 years of therapy
And-
as well, and I was preoccupied and anxious, and now I'm secure, and I don't have to have a person to
But as you know,
validate.
that's not an intellectual process. That's
I
an
know.
experiential thing of years and years of working with a therapist kind of thing, which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a perfect setup for it now. You like it. You're motivated. You have insight.
Yeah, you're willing.
Yeah. No, I am. I mean, I do because I see Dr. Sophie every week.
Okay,
Pretty
all right.
well,
Okay.
almost
and
every
you,
week.
and you have your sponsor when you're
Yes, I have a
attached to her.
sponsor, and then I see Dr. Sophie every week,
Good.
and work with him.
Go back to the Promises Wednesdays?
I go that on Wednesdays, Palisades Sunday mornings, and then Promises. We just do a lot of different activities. You know, game night. We go to the Getty Center together once a month. We do bowling, and I'm on the event
Community.
planning committee. So I plan once a month every Wednesday. I go in with Patricia Myers and a
Yep.
couple other alumni, and we help plan events. Like I plan the holiday party and everything. So I like being very active in the Promises community.
Bob just
That
keeps
sounds
staring at me
great.
like, "Holy hell!"
That's what you're
That
saying
sounds
the world
great.
needs.
Yeah, I know.
There
I
it
know.
is.
We've just been saying
but
this.
it's done by professionals. Patricia Meyer
Yeah.
is
I just
the
love her.
greatest.
Yeah.
And she involves, they have the greatest alumni
Yes.
system of but it keeps people on track. Cry Help does it. It's modeled. Promise is modeled after Cry Help, but it's just way
Well, that's
nicer.
funny because Patricia went to Cry Help, so that makes sense.
So
But,
that community-based stuff. See, you're thinking that it's going to be provided for no money. No, it takes professionals to organize 100, 150, 250, 500 drug addicts to then become vehicles of spreading that goodness. Right, that community.
Well, it takes organization.
It takes organization. It just is not going to come from.
Could religion do that?
Religion could do that.
Yeah.
And religion also is going through a cathartic thing, which is religion politics or is religion religion? Right?
Nothing should be politics right now. Everything pragmatic.
But I think that's what we were talking about with Dave Navarro on a prior thing, is the solutions to America's problems don't come from a policy.
No,
they come from us individually getting more whole. And
you
then,
agree?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're doing it with other people, whether they've been doing it for 20 years or doing it for, a year, that community then becomes where we'll listen to each other, where we'll forgive one another.
But I'm arguing that community could be a bowling league, or it could be all kinds of things. People could gather together.
She just said they go bowling.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, for me, I really think it would have been very hard to have stayed sober and to want to get back into the program without promises, because I pretty much stopped hanging out with anyone I was friends with. After I went through treatment, I did not spend time with anyone else. I pretty much only spent time with the Promises community. That was all my social activities.
The winners.
Promises.
They were the winners.
That's what it takes.
And it had, and if they, having all the different events to do and having so many, it's just such a great community. We all, no matter who shows up to the meeting, you have something in common with them, because you can all talk about the houses or something, the different living and the therapists. And I love the sense of community with them. And anytime something's wrong, I know I can pick up the phone and call any of the people at Promises. We have a alumni Facebook page. God, you would think Promises is paying me. They should right now, because
they have paid. They have paid you.
But
Okay.
That's true. We went the other.
So, other than the love addiction piece, where do you want to be in 5 years?
I want to be married with
other than the relationship part.
babies.
Babies. You want to be a mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
That is the game plan right now.
Let's take some calls. This is Brittany, who called in from Facebook. Brittany, go ahead.
Hi, Mary. What you're saying is interesting, because I can totally relate to love addiction. I grew up in an abusive household. My mother, my father were abusive. They were druggies. My mom then married a narcissist who physically abused me, mentally, spiritually, all of us in the house. So I myself became I grew up very angry, and still to this day I'm very angry inside. I'm peaceful, but anything can make me snap. When I feel someone is crossing me, I don't have it, and it's unhealthy. I alienate people. And I also have a pattern of coming into abusive relationships, not physically, but mentally and spiritually. That in turn, I'm so codependent on the other person. I never want to be alone. And when things go wrong, what do? I abuse myself, and I beat myself up so hard. I start taking Xanax, I start doing coke, I start drinking heavily, smoking marijuana. It's just a never-ending spiral. And I am on Lexapro, but it doesn't seem to help. I try to come off of it, and
you're talking about
much worse.
You're talking about symptoms that don't really respond to antidepressants. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
A lot of stuff to unpack there.
Trauma stuff.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, and it would take quite some time with professional help. The good news is that you are understanding of what it is going on with you. So that's like a huge percentage of what we struggle with is identification.
Insight.
So you've identified so many things, and now I think that just putting together a structure to move forward and get better step by step would be the opportunity that I would look for you.
I agree. And I mean, really, they can't really put her on Lexapro until she's had some continued sobriety. Because until you have continued sobriety, you don't know what, at least I would think 90 days sober to see where your brain is.
Mary Ellen's going to work in this field.
Yeah.
Well, I know I want to. Well, that's
what I've been saying forever. And then she runs off to Vegas, for Christ's sake.
I want to be a drug and alcohol therapist.
Haven't I told you that for 10 years?
Yes, I want to do this. I find it fascinating. So, well, I'm going back to school for psychology.
Yeah, right, actually.
No, I think you could be.
With the next, there was a fallout, and he actually did put his hands on me, and of course, naturally, I responded with great anger, and I threw a butcher knife at him, and so the police came and they took me to a mental health facility, and it helped, but and they took me straight to a psychiatrist, and he's just like, oh. He was not very personable. He's like, you just need Lexapro and Xanax. And I'm like, I don't think this is helping.
Lexapro and Xanax. Wow.
I do have these patterns. It's very self-abusive. And I forget who I am. I recognize, but I do forget because when I'm consumed by anger, which I have issues with, obviously, from being hurt, but I lose control and I forget everything.
Right. So dialectical behavioral therapy?
Absolutely, 100%. And then also, we got to get you to a place where you can go inpatient somewhere, where you can spend 30, 60, 90 days, where you're not going to be evoked by your environment so that your brain can settle down a little bit. It sounds like it gets very dysregulated when certain things happen. You get very triggered.
I put her on hold.
I advise treatment.
Yeah, I know she needs. This doesn't get better fast. That kind of thing. But
no, it would take some time.
What she's describing is, when she's in these intense emotional states,
overwhelmed.
Well, she also loses track that other people's minds have content, so she does things and acts out without really understanding she's hurting other people. She loses track of, or even her sense of self. She said, "I lose who I am." Those things. I've just become this violent ball of anger.
Right.
And that's bad. Yeah. That's not good. You don't want to be like that.
No, and the consequences of that is that she's medicating with dangerous substances.
Right.
And in addition, she's pushing people out of her life who may very well be people that love her or that she loves. And then when you start to lose people around you where you don't feel like people care about you anymore because you've pushed them all away, then you get very lonely, and that intense loneliness triggers a more cascading of pain and emotional pain.
But also it triggers getting help.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that consequence to our behaviors is what's lacking. Right? People tolerate too much BS.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And so she said it so nicely, and then I threw a knife at him. And I'm imagining Mary's throwing a knife or two.
No, I'm not I'm verbally violent, but I'm not physically violent.
What would you say that was equivalent of a knife throw?
So if somebody, what did you say when this prostitution thing went down? Say some of the things.
With him?
Oh, yeah.
Some of the knife throwing.
Oh, I don't want to say. That's really okay. I'll say what I said with my ex-husband when I was mad at him. I would call him a short, fat, loser electrician and tell him I'm going to leave him for a rich guy. I'd be like, you short, fat, bald, loser electrician. I'm going to leave you for a rich guy.
That's what you did, didn't you?
I did it. The guy in Promises was very...
See, it manifests.
It manifests.
Well, we think you manifest.
I mean, that was the thing. The guy I'm with now, when I come with the hookers, I mean, he's tall, he's smart, he's educated,
What's his
he has
field
a
of
good
medicine?
career. Emergency medicine.
Yeah.
He actually said when he was, I always mix up if it's fellowship or internship. Residency. That he worked at Huntington.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And you were on one of the floors, and he had to call you from the ER and tell you about a patient.
Yeah.
MD aware.
I love that stuff.
Screen out.
He went to USC like you.
Yeah, those are LSC hospitals. I'm going to get the four attachment styles right. I'm preoccupying with that.
Yeah.
Secure, ambivalent. Secure, disorganized, avoidant, ambivalent.
I'm disorganized.
You may have been at one time.
Yeah.
Disorganized is the worst. Disorganized is where you just don't. Kids are completely spinning like tops.
Oh no! I just thought about on the house. What is this thing for emotional attachment?
For attachment styles.
I was meeting at his house. He's disorganized.
In infant research, they found 4 attachments. There's something called the adult attachment interview where you can actually form. Did you have the adult attachment interview?
What is the one where too many people are attached to you and
No.
What
No,
is
it's
that?
about
I mean-
how you attach.
This is how you would,
Yeah,
this
have
is
you
how
attached to others?
No,
What-
then you become resentful towards all the people that depend
That's sort of
on
avoidant,
you.
probably avoidant.
Avoidant.
Yeah,
Okay,
avoidant.
I have that one.
Yeah, I generally am attracted to avoidance, I think. But,
You're trying to avoid.
well, I mean, I noticed, the young boyfriend I was with, he was definitely an avoidant.
Well, and that's the sort of love addiction, love avoidance cycle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the cycle.
But the guy I'm with now is not an avoidant. He might be also like me, preoccupied, anxious.
So why do people be avoidant?
I'm just kidding.
Why do they do
When
that?
their mother, it's the opposite of
emotions-
abandonment. They have someone
What do I
that's
get
constantly.
out of it? What do I get out of being avoidant?
Well, you don't have to really fully engage.
I bet you're
It keeps you
ambivalent.
safe.
Yeah.
Keeps you safer.
See, you guys always act cured, and I just like to act like how I am. I'm not cured at all.
Okay, so
Right, so I have these problems in this area for sure, right?
The
So I want
attachment.
you to diagnose me. So what I and you know me best. So what do I have? If an attachment disorder, what is my main problem?
I
and what
think
do I
you're-
do about it?
I think that you have.
You're not avoidant.
Not avoidant at all.
No.
I don't know your relationship history. But
I get resentful at people that I create them dependent on
Yeah,
me.
ambivalence.
What is
It's
that?
an
What is
ambivalent
that?
attachment. You get the attachment, then you're ambivalent about it.
Yeah,
I've
I
gotten
think-
way
Yeah.
better at it in the last
Yeah.
2-3 years.
But then I also feel like that's a not just an attachment issue. I think it's like you have to boil it down.
Codependency?
Yeah,
Narcissism, thinking you have the-
It's a
See, I like
personality
this.
aspect. It's a personality
definitely
aspect.
person-
and so your personality is that you really see people and you really get them engaged and you really dig in and get involved. But then when they get really involved with you, then you're like, whoa,
Get
this
away
is
from me.
too involved, because then the intimacy arrives, and if you're not ready for the level of intimacy that's going to come towards you, then you would be
You push it away.
You would push it away, and then you would be ambivalent towards it. And then those folks would then react in some way, anxious, or they would react in avoidant,
or they
but
come
go away.
tighter after you
Or-
because
or,
where
yeah.
are you going? You're
That's
leaving.
what I would do. I would come tighter after you.
Yeah.
No, but I
I would track
just
you
find-
down.
See, I think that it helps. It helps people at home to have conversations like this. Like I'm saying that I do that. I know I have attachment disorder still. I know how it actuates, how I create, like I'll be there for you, but then I resent that you want me to be there for you, right? Mm-hmm. This causes constant conflict about every 3 to 6 months. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so as you're growing older, you don't want that chaos in your life, right?
Shocking.
So
Well,
what
that's
I've
good.
done now is overcompensate. Like I don't really let anybody attach to me either. I just hide in
Now
Claremont.
it's avoidant.
Now it's straight avoidance.
Now it's straight avoidant. Yeah.
You can't win with this stuff, Mary.
You need to go back to treatment.
It's good
I'll just go back to treatment.
Mary's moving towards secure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slowly.
when
Slowly moving towards secure.
And talk
I
about
want to.
how these problems transfer not just romantically or interpersonally in marriage and with your parents or whatever, but to your children, because that's what's going wrong in America.
Well-
is everybody's fucked up problems
Right.
they're projecting, and it's creating the next generation of trauma.
Right. So if you can't have straight, intimate connection, you can't build regulation. And so they're growing up dysregulated, distrustful, in a dance with their intimate partners.
So many children
rather
I
than in
see,
intimacy.
7 to 10 at my son's school, have described being anxious and feeling embarrassed. So
Embarrassed. That's the
embarrassed
avoidant
is a big
thing,
one.
probably.
But what are their parents doing? That's because rather than talk about liberals and conservatives, I'm more interested in what are the
Probably intruding, probably intrusive. They're intrusive,
Okay,
so the child
Yeah,
doesn't-
that's what's avoidance are like.
Yeah, so the
'cause that's
child doesn't learn to sort of navigate in the world
On their own.
Yeah, and learn to test reality testing. So rapprochement, go out in the world, take some risks, go back,
back.
refueling at home, go back out in the world. That was the piece that I lacked badly, and so I had to do years of that in therapy. And it's going out in the world, having a secure base to come back to. And as you test in the world, you become less anxious because you start
You're
to
walking through things.
You're walking through things. You start to experience yourself in a more realistic and whole way. You start experiencing reality. You start experiencing
it
boundaries.
distorts reality. The anxiety distorts reality.
Sure.
That's what listeners need to know, how destructive this is in the fiber of our communities and in our nation. So I'll give you an example. Elvis was anxious. He tends to use that word a lot, right? About his report card that was coming in Friday, right? And I said, "What are you anxious about? What are you worried about?" And he's like, "Math." And I said, well, he's really good at math. Mm-hmm. So I said, what are you talking about? So then got the report card, 100% A. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the hell is this? So it's displaced. Mm-hmm. The anxiety is coming from somewhere else.
Yes.
It wasn't math.
No, it's coming from somewhere else, and it's probably having to do with pleasing or worry.
Perfectionism.
Yeah, because I was always anxious for every test in school.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I always had to get an A, and I was always, I would get severe, I was being super nervous before any test.
But perfectionism, that was your thing.
Yeah. Like I remember having an A in 7th grade in English, and they announced an extra credit report you could do. And even though I had an A, I couldn't not do the extra credit.
What did the perfectionism mean to you? What was it? Did you have a sense of it solving a problem, or?
I just, I had it from such a young age. I had to be the best dancer in my group, the straight A student, the student of the year,
the hero.
Yeah, I remember when I lost the spelling bee, I came in second and being hysterically crying in school, and everyone had to console me.
This stuff goes on every day in Los Angeles. What she's describing.
Well, the problem with our country,
but my family never made me have to get the A's. It was something within me. That
I'm just wondering what problem it was solving for you. What it did for you.
Well, it guards against shame and embarrassment, and also I think how our parents feel about themselves is far more powerful than what they project that we're supposed to be doing towards ourselves. Like I feel like my family, they had good intentions intellectually, but how they felt about themselves inside, I picked up on way more than what they were telling me.
Yes,
like
the emotional,
you're great and everything's great and you're good at this, but I couldn't hear it because I kept feeling that like their inauthenticity under that.
Yeah. No, we have to be a whole being, right? The right and the left brain, the intellectual part and the holistic part. And kids pick up on that holistic part if it's not lined up with the intellectual part.
And I was extremely sensitive, which did, come out and become very good for me later in life when I was able to manage that intuition. When I was able to do that and I was able to manage what came up for me and I was able to move through into, becoming an empathic person, that's when it all kind of clicked in, like why I was so sensitive when I was a baby and why I was so sensitive.
You're able to see it from a new perspective. You're not in it.
And working through all of those, reasons why my brain got very dysregulated, just being that sensitive in the environment. And
do you know
some
Shelley's
of us
story,
are sensitive
Mary-Ellen,
people.
about being locked units and all this kind of stuff?
Oh, I don't know all of that.
She was rock and roll girl.
I mean, I know a little. I mean, I know what was shared.
I was having
during the show.
You make it seem like it was like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This was a girl you could depend on. She always knew what to do.
I'm saying when the Xanax withdrawal kicked in. That's the part. That's the part.
That was years later.
You know why it bothers me is because you were so mishandled by the medical system. It drives me insane. You were mishandled.
Well, first of all, I had a year of sobriety, and I didn't do anything they told me to do. Okay, so part of
Mary-Ellen,
the
listen
issue,
carefully.
I had a year of sobriety, and I did everything that they told me not to do, and I didn't do anything they told me to do except stay sober. Okay, so I was stark raving sober at about a year and 15 months of sobriety. I was crazy because I had replaced and sublimated drugs for relationships.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
Drugs for relationships.
But how did you get on benzos?
I got on benzos because I had a nervous breakdown because certain things happened in that relationship, in those relationships that I couldn't manage that reminded me of when I was a kid, and I didn't have any coping strategies for it because, again, I didn't do anything they told me to do in the first year of sobriety.
How long does it take to get addicted to Xanax? How long did it take?
No. I wasn't addicted to Xanax. I took it, and then I started abusing it, and then I ended up having to reset my sobriety.
So how long was that? Like 3 months?
Yeah, probably 2 months or so.
Can you become crazy that much?
Oh, yeah.
We used to take them all the time. Didn't do anything.
Bob,
you're what you call a heavyweight.
No, she was taking them too. She was at
Xanax.
the bakery.
I was at the bakery.
So how
does Valium?
So what Drew doesn't know,
I love Xanax.
there was a bakery.
I used to say I wanted to marry a big.
But you didn't
Xanax
know this
cell.
place. This was in the 80s. There was a bakery on Beverly Boulevard. You could go and buy Xanax for $1 a pill.
It was
at the
Valium.
bakery.
It wasn't It was
yeah,
Valium.
diazepam.
I'll take any benzo.
Valium. That's Valium.
Valium. Yeah.
But you got strung out of Xanax, though.
No. I got strung out on Valium when I was using, and then when I got sober.
We were all strung out on it, Martine.
all strung out
of us.
Think how
because
lucky
you
you
could
were.
buy them for $1 uphill.
Think how lucky we were not to die on the benzo opiate combo.
Yeah.
Because that combo is deadly.
Well,
But
we had the crack in there too, though. That was helping.
That was helping. It was helping something. I don't know really what it was helping.
Shelley,
but
I'm losing
yes.
I'm losing track of your story. My recollection was somehow Xanax got going.
Yeah, Xanax, because I ended up in the psych ward.
This was acting around the
sober.
Yeah.
And because I had a breakdown,
Whatever,
like
it's
a
a
type
mood,
of breakdown,
a mood. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I was very, very depressed.
Yeah.
And so I went to the psych ward, and then they gave me Xanax.
Yeah.
They also
Fix
gave
it? Did
me.
it fix it?
It did fix it. It fixed it.
That's why they
You know.
believe in it.
I
Drew.
know.
It-
What do you
it-
think? Listen, Adderall fixes ADHD.
No,
Yeah.
Until you
No,
get
They
your
didn't give me that.
until your addiction kicks in, and then it's boom.
Right, so the addiction kicks in.
You ever
right?
been on Adderall?
I tried it once and I
Bob,
didn't like it.
Bob,
I don't like uppers.
People
I'm
do
too hyper
drugs.
for that.
Yeah, they do drugs because they
They work, I know.
That's why
Yeah.
they do them.
I like
So the
downers.
Xanax kicked in the hospital. Okay, and then
And then I took it because
you're supposed
I was,
to.
it
and
was
then
working.
and then, but they also gave me other medications too.
I understand.
Around that, but then I abused the medication. I had to then
What?
stop, and then I had to restart my time, which was 22
Yeah.
22 years ago.
How long before you had to stop? How long were you on it before you stopped?
Oh, I wasn't on it very long. A couple
But I
of
thought
months.
Xanax Withdrawal sent you, and you had a bunch of weird.
That was the first. No, that was the first time I got sober.
Okay.
The first time I was addicted to Valium.
So it's Valium
It was
withdrawal, and they
Valium
gave you a
withdrawal.
bunch of crazy diagnoses, right?
Yes, yes.
They
Well,
gave put you in a locked unit. Right?
So, Drew, just
Right.
to synopsize modern times and old times. I didn't like diazepam. Neither did a lot of our friends.
I didn't
but
think
once
it did
you heard
anything.
you could get them for $1 a piece, we would line up at this bakery, right, and take tons of them, right? That's what's going on now with fentanyl in America.
Jeez.
It's so cheap. You can get high for $10. You can die for $10.
What is fentanyl? What?
It's like
Fentanyl
a
is
strong heroin.
a lot of those doctors. I would imagine you were in rehab
Yes,
with were
yes.
on it.
I think some of the anesthesiologists. No, because there was a lot of anesthesiologists in there.
Bob's
that were,
favorite.
Bob's
they
favorite.
were injecting themselves with a lot of their drugs, the different anesthesia drugs. Actually, one of the guys right now that was just in there, he he's in jail now because I think he might have gotten bailed out for he was doing anesthesia for another physician and he passed out during the surgery and the person died.
Oh,
That's
my
his
God.
It
occupation.
was in the news a month or 2 months ago.
It's this craziness what's going
The guy's
on.
in PTP right now.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He was close to retiring to the anesthesiologist,
Oh, my
but
God, that's-
So
he was
what
injecting himself.
What
with
I'm
the
saying
drugs.
about the fentanyl, though, is that the regulation that Shelley and mine's generation was, we were regulated by $20 and $40.
Yeah.
And it wasn't much morphine in that $20 or $40.
There was
Right.
not.
And the economics kept you in a certain check. There's none of that anymore. You
Yeah.
can buy fentanyl for
$5.
For $5. You can buy I don't know how it comes in, I guess grams. You can buy a gram for $20 or something. Somebody email us it's unbelievable. And the kids
so
are preferring that. I have kids that are strictly identified
Strictly
as fentanyl addicts.
Ugh.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we in, Mary?
I don't know. I just like alcohol and Xanax.
I know. So
I'm
the
so
reason-
boring.
But the reason I wanted to bring up, I wanted to get a little bit healthier because I want to
Yeah.
have children and I don't want to fuck them up, right? So your main dream the whole time I've known you for 10 years now is to get yourself together, find the right guy, and have children. And what we're trying to talk about here is you get yourself together, all the rest of it will fall in place. Stop thinking the other way around. You know what I
I'm
mean?
engaged and we're going to get married.
No, you didn't hear him. You didn't
July
hear him.
7th, and we're going to have babies.
No, say it again.
Because
So
You know, I know
you
what you're
expect
saying.
babies to solve the problems.
No,
What
I
he's-
mean,
yeah.
But no, I think you've done a really good job
Yeah.
to not have children when you knew you weren't capable or
Well, that's not why I
together.
wasn't having
enough.
them because
and-
I didn't want to be pregnant and have to go through that when I was still making money off appearances and things.
And by the way, I'm going to speak on your behalf, but we're applauding you for the
Yeah.
progress and how much you've done.
No,
I mean,
but I'm
come on
saying
now.
you're not that far away from being just fucked up like me, trying to do your best. I'm trying to give you hope.
Yeah. No.
You can be as fucked up as Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I mean that's not where we're at, but I function pretty well. My kids aren't basket cases yet. We'll
Yeah.
see, but but we're all trying, and we have these conversations.
I'm just worried when I have kids how I'm going to deal with if they're not straight A students, if they're not.
Oh, you better count on that.
I mean, because I know that I'm going to.
You can't have your stuff through them.
And that's
I know,
exactly
and I'm like, what if she's not a star
talking about.
ballerina? I've already thought she can only watch well if it's a girl, but I want her to do ballet, and she's only going to watch ballet on TV.
What if she hates it?
I hated it till I was older, and then I loved it.
So she's going to force her to do it.
Well, I think you have to make. My grandparents made me play the piano. I played the clarinet.
We all
I did ballet,
kind of-
and then ballet was finally the thing I liked from 4th or 5th grade on. It was all dance, and had they let me quit, I would have been so sad. But they told me I couldn't quit everything. They let me quit the piano.
It is a weird zone. That's a weird thing.
It's tough. It's
That's a
very
hard thing,
tough.
'cause
They let me quit the
daughter-
piano. They let me quit the clarinet. I did bowling and dance. They wouldn't let me quit
We
all
all
my activities.
kind of tried. You're trying to the modern parenting that you guys did, but it's ironic that out of 3 kids, 2 became athletes, focused on athletes, just like you were as a kid. You didn't push them to, but
Yeah.
that's what they became,
Yeah.
right? I think Ivy's a musician, huh?
I wasn't an athlete.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is, even if we try to do the right in parenting, you didn't want to encourage her to be a musician. Maybe you didn't want to, like what Mary's saying, right?
Ballet,
Right? You didn't
Straight
do
A's
that.
in
I know
ballet.
you didn't, but yet the
It comes
genetics,
through.
or
It
it
comes
comes through, or
I
they.
think the genetics do come through in a lot of ways. But we exposed Ivy to a lot of different things, piano and dance, and we just put her in anything
Yeah.
that she was interested in. And then if she liked it, we would sign up again.
Yeah.
And then if she liked that, we would sign up again. And when she wanted to drop out of piano because it was boring, I was like, okay, but what are you going to do instead?
That's what
You
my
know?
grandparents did with me.
Yeah,
you
just
know?
Well,
what
I'm
are you
gonna-
going to do instead?
Yeah.
I'm going to
And
give you the example,
so she picked up guitar.
My older son told me at 15 years old that school didn't matter because he was just going to be a musician like me and Don and everybody. And I said, "Are you trying to kill me? What are you talking about?
great.
No, you can't be a musician. It's the worst life ever." Right?
Right.
Would you
Yeah.
want? What do you think when she's saying?
No,
that?
because I give Ivy strategies, coping strategies. It's not the life; it's how you cope with it.
Wow, that sounds like a book.
It's
That's
not the
Shelley
life.
Sprague's book.
All right.
Right there.
Do you want to talk to Dan from Florida?
Oh, sure.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's talk to
Is this
So
Dan.
he writes me on Twitter a
Is
lot.
this a
He
former
writes me on-
beau?
No.
Here
Okay.
is Dan. Dan, go ahead.
No, I'm too old for her.
Okay, what's going
Yeah,
on?
this is not going. I wanted to ask you. Well, shouldn't these people change their environment? Wouldn't that be helpful
Which
for
people?
people who have to change their lifestyle?
Yeah, that's what she said she did. She's only hanging out with the right people. but
There's a sort of a
Well, I mean, how about the geography?
yeah.
physically.
no, geography doesn't matter. It's people that
He wants
matter.
me to move to Florida.
Good.
No.
But
My mom is in Boca by him.
Oh,
but
Boca.
I'd love to move. I'll take care of you, Barry. So listen, like I have now. I went to USC too,
oh,
but
okay.
a long time ago. And the best thing is now since 1969, I never smoked another joint or had another drink.
Right.
So I've been sober for 50 years.
holy
So it can be
moly!
done.
Well, I'm not sure you're an alcoholic, but good. It can be done. That's for sure. And
Well, that can be, yeah. But it was rough, but I made it through. And
whoops, I'm sorry. He just went back on hold there. Hold on, let me get him back. I've just got my finger on the button just in case.
Is this a friend of yours?
No, he used to call into my Vivid Radio show every week, and then he writes me on Twitter every day.
Okay. You ever met him?
He came to a club appearance once.
I'm sure.
But I didn't get to see him for long. So
Well, but the point is, though, doing it
He's very
geographic
nice.
never works.
But
People always
changing your
believe.
people is a good
Yeah.
idea
Well,
because you don't have anything in common with people that are.
I know,
that
but
are
you'll
using.
be attracted to people who are bad for you. That's the way addicts work. That's the way trauma works.
So you'll find it anywhere you go if you try to avoid the place. But changing your environment from unhealthy to healthy, being around people who are healthier, who are making better choices in their life, those are the people you want to try to gravitate towards if you're in the same environment, like the same town. You want to try to gravitate towards people who are doing better in that environment because you can't always get away from your environment.
I'm gonna read some emails to you guys, okay?
okay.
Advice. My brother suffers from PTSD as a result of sexual abuse when he was 8. He's in his 30s now and continues to have deep-seated issues. He sees a family counselor, but to no avail. I mean, this is the common thing, and this is the
EMDR.
This is the big thing in our country right now. Everyone has had adverse childhood experiences. Like 60% of the population's had major childhood trauma. It's some crazy number like that. And it's all you see.
I
right?
think EMDR and DBT.
But somebody who really knows trauma. Did you have trauma other than that chronic? You had sort of a chronic thing.
Yeah, just a different, like that, but no sexual abuse or anything like that.
Alcohol. Come on, you guys are being quiet.
Well, it just
let's talk about my fiance. Let's talk about my fiance.
Because it gets depressing when
He's so cute.
When you look at people who are seeking help and they can't get it, right? And Drew,
or what kind of help
Drew,
for
we
them
just
to
talked
get.
about this. The two best therapists I know that I would recommend my partner, my family members to go to cost $350 an hour. You were nice enough to see Elijah for half price. That was good. But $350 an hour, I mean, that's crazy. That's
I think if someone can't afford a therapist, they could go to, you can go to different meetings and get a sponsor, and then that's a...
Yeah, but for this trauma, you got to get therapy. You've got to get therapy.
Very specific types of therapy, because you could be in therapy for a very long time and not get at this type of material because of your own defense mechanisms that you build up to survive. So you want to make sure that you get the right type of therapy for PTSD specifically.
I mean, somebody who knows how to deal with childhood trauma.
It's so important.
Yeah,
it's crucial.
Let's take the post-traumatic stress out of it and just talk about the trauma. I think PTSD is a very popular catchphrase that everyone has. All the returning veterans have. All the wounded warriors have. Anybody, it's just.
I agree.
Trauma is what's wrong with us.
Yes.
Yeah, and I agree that we should change. We should separate the types of trauma and put it in different categories, because I do think that that combat trauma is different than childhood trauma. And I do think we need to stop
sexual. What's the top of the heap is sexual childhood abuse. It's the top of the heap.
I mean, severe physical abuse probably gets there too, but sexual abuse it's mind.
It's a lot. Bending. It happens a lot more than people want to admit.
I know.
It does.
We went through an epidemic of it.
When?
In the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And then, a certain percentage of those people and then they acted out a little bit. And so
But her thing of covert is what's going on. I finally, when you talked that last time, I looked it all up. That's what's going on. That's what my clients are describing.
Covert sexual abuse.
Covert
abuse,
incest,
but best friends with their mom.
Mental
best friends with their mom.
Did something happen like that with you?
No, but my very, very close friend in treatment he's been battling this for a long time.
And what did it, explain a little bit. Yeah, describe it. So his story.
Well, the way he explained it to me was that, his mother, she would always sleep in bed with him. Was always, brushing his mom's hair.
Oh, boy.
Just the mom, the mom expected him to always, tell her how beautiful she was.
Be his little man.
Yes, and she
psycho shit.
Yeah,
I know.
She would sleep,
I know.
She would sleep in bed with him instead of her husband.
Oh my God! And what is the husband thing?
This is surrogate spouse.
Yeah.
Surrogate spouse when
which
the
is
person
the covert incest is.
It's very, very
and it creates avoidance.
Damaging.
They usually become avoidance.
Yes.
He ended up he could not be in close relationships. He
except for with his mother.
Well, yes, but anytime he would start to
they
feel
become sexually addicted.
So anytime he would become close to a woman he was dating, he couldn't continue dating her. He could only have sex with prostitutes.
Yeah, so your
because he didn't want emotional attachment.
You hear about people who can't be sexual.
Engulfed.
They can't be sexual with somebody that they love.
That they love, exactly.
Because it's too consuming. They get lost in it.
And he's been in a lot of treatment. He does what is the EDMR?
EMDR.
He's gone to Promises twice for 90 days. They sent him to the Blue Tiger place in Palm Springs.
Does he have a drug problem too?
You know what? He had been 7 years sober and then he drank again. But it's mostly gambling, and the prostitutes.
Yeah,
we're doing a lot of promo for Blue Tiger and Promises. So let me just say that Shelley is the director of the Bel Air Recovery Center.
It's just my life is so Promises.
But you've learned so much. It's really impressive.
So much from
and
it.
I'm glad you've seen all the different flavors of kinds of addictions that are out there. And sort of paid attention.
What is the Blue Tiger?
The only reason I know right now that my fiance's there, so that's all I know. I'm going for a couple.
Where does the name come from? Is that a part of sex addiction?
Blue Tiger?
Blue Tiger. What does it mean? Like Tiger Mom or what?
No, there was Waking the Tiger. There was a famous book by Levine Peter Levine that was about the trauma stuff.
Maybe it has nothing to do
Yeah,
with
maybe the
anything.
guy who owns it just
Sounds
likes
like
the
a
color
strip
blue and he
mall.
likes
Well, maybe
tigers.
it has nothing to do with
Are you
anything.
sure you didn't get the names mixed
I
up
would,
and
if I
that's a
had one,
bar
I would
you're
call
shipping
it.
in?
No, I would call mine the Pink Pomeranian. I like pink and I like Pomeranians. So
You know, it sounds like
maybe
That's
it
what
sounds
she
like,
would call it.
Tiger.
So maybe
So,
he likes
yeah.
the blue tiger.
it sounds like Indian imagery. You know, like maybe some Indian. You know,
But it's
Feels
funny.
Japanese to
You know
me.
what? When I go there on Tuesday, Bob, I will ask
Yeah,
them
ask where they
why
got the
Blue
name.
Tiger,
Say we
and
wanna
I will
take
make
a
sure to
tour
let
down
you
there.
know.
Let's take a tour
I'm
down
going to
there.
say he doesn't
might
care about the
keep one of
program. He
us.
just wants to know
They
why
might
Blue
keep us.
Tiger.
and it's just men.
Yeah, just men.
Just men.
And they only have 4 to 6 there at a time. And here's what I don't think is great about the program. See, it's not a commercial for them. Is that I find it strange that they have them doing only a 12-day treatment program. They call it a 12-day boot camp because to really, with these sex addictions, any treatment, you really need at least 30 days. I think 90 days realistically.
But there's not a medical piece. You know what I mean? It's
There's
just
no detox.
It's hard
Yeah.
to justify
It's hard to
staying to pay for that.
because they can if they stay active in their program on the outside, they
Okay.
should be able to live independently, but
Yeah.
they've got to do it. And
Do
that's-
the
You
work.
just really like inpatient treatment, don't you?
Well, I just think that it takes, if you're a really bad sex addict and you're seeing prostitutes constantly or
There-
porn
there
all the
are
time,
places
it
that will
takes
hold
a
longer.
longer time to create a behavioral change.
Well, it takes
I
a
think
lifetime, I think.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
Mary.
but-
That's Mary saying
but
that.
90 days of treatment increases your success rate 50%.
And you identify with sex addiction for a while too, right?
No, I realized never sex addiction.
Because sex and love kind of goes together.
Yeah,
to
I mean, well,
story.
that's the thing mine was definitely a love addiction because
Yeah.
I've discovered that, I don't want to ever just have sex with random guys.
Right,
and,
right.
And I was discovering when I was doing my radio show a couple of years ago and I did the topic of one-night stands,
Yeah.
because I just assumed I must have had plenty of those. I've never actually had a one-night stand because mine were always, even if I met the guy that night at a bar and had sex with him that night, I ended up dating him or having a relationship. Even the guys I'd meet on the road traveling, I'd fly them out to LA to stay with me. So mine was always around a relationship. It was never just purely sex.
Trying to
So
have those
relation-
babies.
No, I was
Relational.
not ever trying to have babies.
but they
then.
do- it does-
I wanted, honestly, ideally, I was like, if I could have a baby at 50, once my looks are, no, once I,
But that's-
I
that-
don't know, not that they go,
Women-
my fiance's 51 and he looks great.
Women sort of back into sex addiction through love addiction, though, Marilyn.
Yes,
they
no,
kind of
I
come
agree,
to it that
I
way.
agree.
And so, all right,
No.
we got to wrap everything up. We do. It's
Wow.
we've
It's
spent
like
a lot
a
of time.
breath
spent
of fresh
fast.
air that
It-
comes in. You gotta get in our fields. You gotta stay sober.
Well, I'm
You
going back
gotta
to
go
college, so my
school.
fiance,
Good.
my fiance
Perfect.
wants me to pretty much end the appearances I have lined up, and then because he went, when he went back to college, he didn't even go to medical school till he was like early 30s.
Whoa.
He didn't
Good for
even,
him.
he had dropped
that
out of
common?
college.
That's
no.
hard.
It does happen quite a bit.
Yeah,
Wow.
he went back to college around 27 after having dropped out.
Particularly around
and-
his age, they liked that. When the
Yeah.
medical schools liked people that had other life experiences coming into medicine.
But he's
So-
inspired me because I already have a degree in theater, so why not? I did a lot of psychology classes. Originally, I was just going to go for my KDAC, which is a 1-year course to be drug and alcohol.
No, go back to school.
But I'm just going to go. It'll probably be 2 years. I have all my core curriculum.
That's great.
And go to Cal State Northridge, and then I can do psychology and try to
Great.
really.
Oh no, I
so-
think this is an excellent avenue for you.
I thought
100%.
I was too old to go back to school, and then he was just very supportive of that.
Were you in treatment
So-
with Jenny Ketchum?
No,
No,
but I
it
know
was a
I know her
different-
from.
So she got a social work degree.
That's a KDAC thing. Isn't
No,
it?
no,
No,
she's
no,
social
she
worker.
went to
got a
graduate
degree.
school.
That's
She went to grad-
brilliant.
Look at me diminished. Like
That's brilliant.
No,
What is
because
that?
I just said no because I
Hating on her.
I
No.
like
I'm just kidding.
I like social workers more than MFTs. So
I
it
like
takes
social
more. It takes more.
I just love psychology. So
Well,
much.
she's a therapist now.
Oh
That's
wow.
so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You didn't get to
Fantastic.
talk to her, did you?
No, I haven't spoken to her, but
Oh, my
I just
God.
think it's
It'll
so
blow your mind.
great
Blow your
that
mind.
people are going back to school and getting education.
And she's married, has a kid now.
That's so
Jenny Ketchum?
wonderful.
I'm having twins.
That's so wonderful.
No, we are. We're gonna do IVF.
Oh, you're gonna make sure you have twins.
oh my god!
We
You
are.
be careful what you wish for.
No,
Talk
I
to
know.
her.
No, I know. Well, because he's 51,
What if
so
you
we don't
got
want to.
4? What if you got 4?
We're just gonna put in 2, but because he's 51, so he doesn't want to wait, too long.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he doesn't want to be like 75 when the kids graduate high school.
I do.
But that's true. You had a kid
All right, guys.
later.
We're
I just
gonna-
keep putting my foot in my mouth here.
We're gonna-
I'm like, over 50s, your looks fade. He doesn't want to be 75.
I know. Take it easy.
We're gonna wrap this up. Is there
Just kidding.
anything else you want to say, Mary? Before anything?
Can everyone
costly?
here come to my wedding? Well, I don't know you, but you can
Nate,
come
Nate.
to the wedding too.
Nate the man
It's July
behind the board.
7th.
Oh, we have to go to the wedding. Where? I mean, don't tell specifically.
At Promises Malibu, obviously.
Honestly, I wanted to get married there, but I told Promises.
You nailed that.
I told Promises I wanted to get married there.
At the upper house? At the upper house, right?
Yeah, I just thought
They
the
do
main
have
house,
a beautiful house
but-
there that you could get married at.
I forgot what's the name of the. I should know the name of the place.
So-
but we have the location booked. It's in Los Angeles.
Okay,
so,
it's here. All right.
Yeah,
There
I'll
you
give
go.
you guys.
All
You
right,
guys all have to come.
It's
be
in
there.
Maui.
And it's going to be it's a dry wedding.
Good.
I'm
We'll
pretty
be
sure.
there.
I mean, he thinks his physician friends aren't going to be happy with the no alcohol there, but
Too
It's
bad.
only an evening.
Yeah, they can go
Yeah.
somewhere else
It's one
afterwards.
evening.
yeah, we'll see if he sticks to that.
Get a little
All right.
flask and come on in.
Thank
All right, see you later.
Yes.
Wait.
Bye.
Wait. Share this show. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget our YouTube channel as well. YouTube channel. And one more thing. Check us out on the KBC 790 Midday Live Talk Radio Show Monday through Friday,
I have some.
noon to 3. Also, there's a podcast of that. My new co-host is Lauren Savant. We are together every day. And you can tune in on the internet at kbc.com. And if you missed it, we make it simple for you to find the shows in podcast form at doctor.com. Next to all the podcasts we offer there, the Playroom Pods. You guys, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody.
I love you, Dr. Drew. I love you too,
We
Bubba.
love
you.
See you all next time. Hey, we are very excited to welcome our friends at Bergamet. That's a brand that made a significant impact on me. They make a variety of supplements. They use extract from the bergamot citrus fruit. They act as a natural statin and can improve a number of cardiovascular parameters, things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, insulin resistance, all the metabolic syndrome stuff. Now the makers also bring you Bergamet Sport that provides all the same benefits with additional additives designed to help athletes and those with an active lifestyle. Bergamet Sport may help improve stamina as well as reduce recovery time as well as muscle inflammation. I've used the product myself. I've recommended it to patients, and Susan uses it. My wife Susan, you've been using the Bergafem for over a year, so what do you think about it?
After I reached 45, things started changing. Changes in libido, energy, and metabolism.
What?
And
No way.
Then there are hot flashes that you know about, right, Jim?
Yes.
My doctor
And you too.
prescribed bioidentical pellets every 4 months, and then I got hot flashes, felt fatigued at the end of my cycle. Bergafem fixed all of that for me. I took it for a year and ran out, and the hot flashes came back, and a little weight gain in my waist as well. So I'm taking 1 tablet a day to keep the libido strong, sleeping better, and I also noticed a loss of abdominal fat, honey.
Ooh, you're perfect. Is that the right response for husbands? So try Bergamet Sport for yourself. Visit bergamet.com for all the products that may be right for you. That's BERGAMET, bergamet.com, or click the Bergamet banner at doctor.com. And for a limited time, our listeners save an additional 10% on their order by entering the code DRDREW. That's just Dr. Drew at checkout. All one word, DRDREW.
To learn more about Bergafem, please visit bergamet.com today. I
Yep.
love it.
Yeah, you do. You've been using it right along, and it's worked. Well, we're so pleased to have Hydrolite back. Hydrolite is something that we and my family use just about every day, and it is simply the best oral rehydration product I have ever seen. And there are many reasons you should keep some around. I got the flu. I relied on Hydrolite because I knew it would rehydrate me the way an IV fluid would. We all have heard about the flus and the diarrheas, and they all knock you out. Staying well hydrated is critical to getting over these conditions. Even if you manage to avoid getting infected, your schedule is half as busy as mine. Getting 8 glasses of water a day isn't likely to happen. And you don't need it if you've got the proper hydration product, Hydrolite. That is the beauty. Whether you're sick or not, you can absolutely benefit from proper balance of sodium, glucose, and water. Hydrolite does this better than a sports drink or water alone. That's right, better. And it comes in great flavors like orange, berry, lemonade. It's available in a pre-mixed powder. My personal preference is little effervescent tablets you can simply drop in a bottle of water or a glass of water, and you're done. You got it, and you are rehydrated. And compared to sports drinks, Hydrolite delivers up to 4 times the electrolytes with 75% less sugar. I know. Don't buy into the hype of the brands. Use Hydrolite. It's a better product. I'm telling you, I had intended to invent it. They got there first, so I'm all behind them. Hydrolite solutions are appropriate for all ages, and each bottle or package includes easy-to-follow dosing instructions. Order Hydrolite today, hydrolite.com/DRDREW. That is hydrolite.com/Dr. Drew. And for a limited time, our listeners can save 30% on Hydrolite. We actually buy in bulk in our family, so we're going to click through. Believe me, just click the banner on my site and use the code DRDREW18. That is DRDREW18.
Remember, you can find all these podcasts at drdrew.com. The Dr. Drew podcast, the This Life podcast, and the Adam and Drew podcast, which is available 5 days a week. Find them all on iTunes and rate us 5 stars. Subscribe and get it first. And if you're really happy, click on the Amazon banner at drdrew.com to help support the show. We'll thank you for it. If you join the email list via drdrew.com/contact, we'll send you a weekly infusion newsletter with Dr. Drew's news. We're so grateful when you get in touch. We read all your emails and we'll bring you the subject matter you want to hear about.
You live.